Hey guys, Frank here with another episode of Modern Church Leader, here with my new friend doing cool stuff with AI in the church. Corey, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Corey Alderin, like Buzz. It's like it's gonna stick in my head for forever now. Where are you at? Where are you actually located?
I am just outside of Indianapolis.
Oh, very cool. We got quite a few team members out in that area, so you guys will have to meet up one day.
Yeah.
And have you lived out there, like born and raised, or did you make your way out there at some point?
No, I've kind of been all over the Midwest actually.
Really?
Born, raised in Iowa, lived in Chicago for a while, moved to Wisconsin, and then moved here to Indianapolis about 6 or 7 years ago.
Crazy. You like it out there?
Yeah. Midwest is great. It's all I know, but
yeah, totally.
Indianapolis is great, like big city stuff, but it's like a small big city, right? Like it's not so it's great. Right. I live like 5 miles outside of not even 5 miles, a couple miles right outside of Indianapolis, but I've got cornfields all around me. So it's like, what city can you live like right next to that you also have like that sort of cornfield?
Right,
field?
Like straight farms and cornfields, and that's cool. Very cool. So you started SermonShots, but we'll kind of let's go back a little bit, but we'll get to SermonShots and AI and all the cool things that you guys are doing right now. But give us a little bit of your background into the church and how you started doing things like on the technology side, like tell people your story a little bit.
Yeah, I got my start in the online space 12-15 years ago, wanting to quit my job and live the dream of being my own boss. Various things that failed early on. My first real success, I think, was probably early on in the Facebook days of pages starting. I created one of the first Christian Facebook pages to hit 5 million followers. Wow. When that mattered too. Like nowadays you can't really do a whole lot with a follower anymore, right? Like you share something and like 1% of the page fans see things, but got my start there, being able to I don't know, when I posted something on there, my website would go down. Like it was just like, so that's crazy. The impact that it had back then. So I guess
what was the Facebook page? What was it?
It's still actually there. ChristianQuotes.info is the website, and that's the name of the Facebook page. Okay. The website actually came after the page, kind of.
Right.
Well, it was just a daily quote on a picture.
Right.
Every day, some popular quote you've probably seen.
And it just blew up. Like everyone joined, and then you would send people to your website. Was it mainly just quotes, or did you ever evolve it into anything else? Did you turn it into any kind of business?
Yeah. So it actually was one of the first things that helped me transition to being full time. Because I turned it into selling like ad space early on. Like created a website for it that like it had a daily devotional with it. So it was a quote, and then the devotional was related to that quote.
Right.
And then I could make ad money from all the ads around, that. Right. And built an email list, sell the ad space there. And then on the Facebook page, there'd be like a quote, and I'd sell like the bottom third of the image where somebody was like selling a book or something like that. And so those did really well early on.
Right. Yeah, very cool. Okay, so Facebook page. Did you grow up in the church, or what? Where's your connection? Just spiritually in your faith.
Yeah, I grew up in the church. Went to church every Sunday, Wednesday, growing up, and still to this day, very involved in my church now too. Part of the leadership team and lead small groups and things like that. So,
right.
I've been passionate about helping the church in different ways, and so that we'll probably get into that at some point about SermonShots as well. But yeah. that's been a big impact into why I am where I am right now.
Right. So Facebook page, and then what's next? Like fill in the journey up to SermonShots.
Yeah, so Facebook pages took a dive at some point. Like, it used to be if I shared something, half the people would see it. So I share something to 5 million people, 2 million people would see it.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like 100,000 people will see it. And so like it just, it was trickling down. And so I really just started evaluating what else I wanted to do. And just by chance, I think I decided I wanted to do software, helping build something. I guess the chance part was helping somebody, an author friend, do some stuff. And I got into helping authors and software, built something, taught myself how to code because I had a hard time finding developers to do things like follow through. Mostly because now thinking back, it's mostly because I didn't have the developer mind. So I didn't really know how to like interact as well with them. But through that, I taught myself how to code. And my first coding project became what now is BookBrush. And it's a really popular software for authors to create images and all their marketing images and things like that.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, I taught myself how to code and do all that through that. That business I have a partner with, and after I think it's like year 7 at this point, which was a couple years ago, it didn't need 2 owners in it anymore. And my business partner and I wanted to get back into like helping the church. That BookBrush thing kind of diverted us away from that by chance again, but it was a thing that we wanted to get back to. So I put on my market research hat. This was before Christian Quotes. I had a market research. I was doing market research at a pharmaceutical company, so I had that sort of mindset. And so I started talking to churches, and they just kept telling me that basically it was clips was a thing that they really wanted to know how to do better.
Mm-hmm.
This was about 2.5 years ago when I probably had my first call, and like, great, this looks pretty clear. This is what churches want. So I was fortunate to have a good head start on that because BookBrush had a video component, and so I was able to kind of use that technology that we had built over the few years. And and so about 2 years ago, we launched SermonShots, and all along the way, it's been helping churches, and so what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So just so that everyone watching, because I don't assume everyone actually knows, tell us what clips are. Like give us a little more context, like clips and what you're talking about, and then give us kind of what's SermonShots, like what does it do and how is it helping churches?
Yeah, so clips are like, so think the Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels, TikTok, the popular 30, 60-second vertical format. It's churches taking their sermon and converting that into those 30, 60-second like amen moments, the more viral moments. That's what a clip is. And so SermonShots generally helps churches turn their sermon into other content, repurpose it. Primarily clips is what people use it for.
Got it. So they'll take their hour sermon or their 30-minute sermon or whatever it is, they upload it somewhere, and then SermonShots is going to take it and automatically create a handful of clips from that for them. And then they'll take it and go out and post it on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or wherever they want to put it.
Yep, exactly. You upload your sermon, it runs through some different AI stuff and spits out some things for you. Like, here's a good one. Here's a good one. You like it. And then you can edit it. And it takes like what used to take probably an hour or more to do, down to about 5 minutes if you want something really quick. So
Right. Yeah. No, I could see that. I mean, I would say, yeah, like at least an hour, because you have to like watch the whole sermon And,
Yep.
you may have been there on Sunday and seen it, but to do this, you have to kind of sit there, watch the whole thing. You have to like mark the spots you want to go grab something from. You got to cut it. And then you probably are doing all the cool like overlay with text and other images and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I could see it taking at least an hour. And that's for somebody that knows how to use, video editing software and like, has some of those skills, which, you're already kind of limiting down the universe right there. So
I hear all the time from churches, I don't have a video person on staff, or my video person is doing these other things. I can't ask them to do this too. And or outsource it. It's expensive. So, that's exactly it.
Yeah. When you were doing the market research, was it as simple as people were just like, yeah, these social media shorts or clips are a thing. I don't know how to do them, but I want to because I hear they're all the rage. Like that's what's happening. You're seeing it happen on all the platforms. Was it like as simple as that when you were talking to churches?
That simple, maybe not quite that simple, but it was coming up a lot.
Right.
And so I kind of summarized that into like, that was probably a 2-month process or so. So I probably summarized that really quickly, but it was a combination of talking to pastors, in churches and hearing that more than anything. Like it wasn't everybody was saying it, but it was like, we were hearing it a lot. And then the other thing that was happening was, so when we were reaching out to people to try to just get them on a call, we were using various ways. Like I was testing out what's getting people to respond to me. And so like, hey, I'll make this for you or this for you. Just jump on a call. I want to talk to you about and every time I said something about clips, hey, I'll make a couple clips for you. Just join a call with me. It was like every other person was replying to that email. Like, yeah, make me those 2 free clips. Make me those 2 free clips. And so it was putting all that data together. It was pretty clear that it was like a missing thing in the church space for sure.
Right. So you get that insight, but then you're like, it sounded like you had the software over there doing some video stuff. Was that tool using AI at that point?
Nope, it wasn't. It was really what we had built is probably still to this day one of the more complicated. Video's complicated. Right. One of the complicated things is basically turning all your sort of custom stuff into a video that looks like what you're making. Right. That's what we had. And so we just had to be like, okay, we've got this. Now we got to do this other stuff, which was the first AI thing that we put was fully transcribing your sermon. Okay. Yeah. So that you could search it. Like, still to this day, we have this feature where you just like, I remember the pastor said this moment, you type it in and it goes right to that spot in the video. So the AI was like automatically transcribing the whole thing for you. Right. And so that was early on before like the AI term. Like we didn't use that term because it wasn't really like
2 years ago, nobody was talking to you about AI. But now like in the last 6 months, it's all about it.
Yep. So since then, when we release these other features, we'll use the term AI in some of our features because now it like makes sense to people. But,
right. So when you first you had talked to a bunch of churches, did the market research, you figured it out. What were the early days like when you kind of like launched the software, launched the business? Was it like an immediate hit where you're like, people are just, it's working?
So yes, although maybe it depends on what you mean by immediate hit. So I think yes, in the early days, as you can probably imagine, we kicked something off pretty quick. Didn't work. Awesome. We pushed it out and there was bugs and stuff. And one of the early indicators that it was kind of a hit to me was people were staying with it and like continuing to use it, even though like in the very early days, it was kind of like, sometimes it didn't work.
Issues. Yeah. We've all been there. All us software guys know what you're talking about.
So, but they were staying with us at a pretty high percent, even though like there were times where it just wasn't working well for them. And so that was just like, there wasn't anywhere else to go, was the thing. Is like, okay, but what do I do if I, in the early days, there wasn't an alternative. And so, so that to me was like, even though the numbers weren't huge, like at the time we had just launched, people willing to stay with us during that time made it feel like an immediate hit for me.
Right.
It probably took, just launching a product, isn't the last thing. The whole marketing side to the business too took some time learning, like the terminology to use, the marketing messages and things like that took a little bit of time. But once we figured that out and started advertising it, it took a big jump. So starting at about the January of 2023, when we started advertising it, we took a huge jump, and it had just been growing since then. So
yeah.
Immediate hit.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to reiterate what I was saying. Like, was it an immediate hit? Yes and no, I guess.
Yeah. But you get it. You get the sense of the question. Like, you didn't have. Yeah. I'm sure you didn't have 10,000 users on day one, but you got the sense of like, yep, this people want this because they're sticking around despite the issues with the software and whatnot. So, And so, like, how many users are you up to today? Like, how many churches are making clips on SermonShots?
We have had come through at some varying level of plans. We've had a free plan at various times.
Yeah.
We've had about 9,000 churches use it at some point, and but we have 1,500 that are consistently using it on one of the paid plans.
Very cool. That's awesome. That's great, man. Congratulations. Like super cool to build a business and see it working. Let's talk AI for a little bit, because AI is all the rage. Every church on the planet is probably hearing about it and all that and wrestling with it. But you guys are building a tool that is actually using some version of AI or something related to AI in a way that's like makes total sense. Like there's no, you don't have to get worried about the AI bots, taking over the world in this particular use case, right? Like you're using it.
I don't think so.
You're using it to help churches produce content at scale, replicate their sermon into lots of pieces of content, which like just makes absolute sense. And churches have been hearing about that idea for years now, right? Like that concept isn't new. It's been going on for years. And you've built a tool that's helping them do it. So how are you using AI? Try to dumb it down a little bit maybe, but got to get into the weeds on like how is SermonShots using AI beyond transcription, right? You talk transcription, which is cool, but like what else have you done over the last couple of years?
Yeah, the ways that we're currently using it in the tool for users, two of the biggest ways. One is basically using it to save some more time for the user of like pick out the moment. So you might not have thought about this moment, or maybe you only watched half the sermon, or you didn't watch the sermon. That like where are the good moments at? And so when you upload, it runs through some various AI algorithms, and it picks out 5 to 15 good, like 30 to 60 second moments for you.
Got it.
And so then you can just download it as is, or one of the ways that we think about it internally, at least I do a lot, is AI does some awesome stuff and can get you a good final product, but you probably need to edit it still. Like all the different stuff out there, it's getting good, but like if you really want it to be your own, especially like I guess just putting it in the church space, like if you want it to be your church's voice or your like church's thing, you still have to edit it a little bit.
Right.
And so what we are kind of guiding with AI has been help the church save time, but like allow them to make changes to it as well, because AI is not a church staff member, I guess.
Right.
And so so when it comes to like clips and all the other repurposing stuff we do, we give you the ability to edit it as well. So like if it picked a good moment, but it's like didn't quite end the way that we would like to end it, you can go down and add a couple sentences if you want into it, and it puts it together for you. Or
Right.
didn't start right the way you liked it, you can change that. So
what's the it makes sense, like help them save some time, automatically pick the shots. Do you have you like, I guess I would love to know, like what kind of AI are you running it through? Like how have you built the back end? Not like built it, but are you running it through like OpenAI's models? Are you running it through Google's models? Did you build your own thing based on all the content that people are putting in? Like how, and how are you tuning it? Like, is it getting better? Are you seeing like the hit rate? It's creating 10 clips. And when I first started it, two of the clips were getting used because, 8 of them were really bad. They just picked bad sections of the sermon, and you've tuned it over time. And now you're seeing churches use 6 or 7 of the clips versus, 2 back in the day. So, just geeking out a little bit here.
Yeah. I can share a lot. Some of it's a little bit of our like secret sauce.
Yeah.
So I won't share everything.
Only what you, absolutely.
Sure. I can share things. So it changes. So as you know, the AI changes quite quickly. A lot of the tools out there, and so like we've used various models to certain degrees. One that does something really well, and another one that does a different thing well. And,
got it.
And so it changes a little bit over time, but basically, OpenAI, ChatGPT, OpenAI, that's definitely a big one. They're really good at what they do, and so we utilize that a lot. We do our own sort of fine tuning for sure, because the church, like picking moments for a church is different than like picking a good marketing message out of a whatever podcast, right? So there's things we've had to tweak there. Different models getting better at things. I guess one thing you have to think about too is some of these models are really expensive to use on a 1 hour, 2 hour sermon. So you got to kind of play with that as well.
Right. Yeah. Because your cost to do it. I was actually going to ask at some point about that, because like you have to charge. It seems kind of like this weird thing, like, oh, you're doing this thing, it should be cheap, but no, you're actually running it through these models that can be pretty expensive to just run hour and a half long sermons through, midweeks. Like it's a lot of content.
Yep. And then, but sometimes OpenAI will announce, hey, we're reducing, like everything's getting cheaper, but then we also release this other plan that now is more expensive, or all those different things. So OpenAI, definitely part of it. Filtering it through. I'd say some of the things that have gotten really good or better over time is understanding timing a little bit better. Like, how long is this clip, or how, OpenAI out of the box does a little bit of a better job of that at times. We have to tweak it. Like, we have to filter it through, because it knows words, but it doesn't always know length very well. And so we have to we do a thing over here, send it back, do a thing here, send it back. So it's kind of some back and forth, but OpenAI has gotten better about that. The other thing is on the clips, like categorizing things. Early on, it picked up a lot on like prayers or things like that in a transcription, if you're reading it out of the context of a prayer, sounds great. Sometimes some people can have great, powerful prayers, right? But maybe not always the greatest clip to post, because once you see like pastor's heads down or whatever.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Yep.
So we've had to figure out ways around that as well. But those are the types of things that I think are getting better as we can kind of tweak here's a reason, or here's a scenario we didn't think about, and how do we adapt it if that scenario happens?
Right. So, yeah. And are you seeing, based on what you've been doing over 2 years, do you see more of the clips getting used? Like kind of as you're right, as it decides, here's 10 great clips or 20 great clips. Do you track that even? I know I'm probably asking about something maybe you don't even track yet, but.
Well, Not exactly, because I'm not sure how many people are. I can see how many people are downloading, but I can't
Right.
see how many people are actually sharing. I guess
Got
you
it.
can kind of assume that they're being shared.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also don't know necessarily, the metric of, like, depending on what your metric is of success, which is probably views. I also don't know necessarily that
Right.
month to
Right.
month, week to week, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
my metric, I guess, is number of downloads that are happening per user and number
Right.
of customers coming in, hearing about this, and those seem to be good metrics.
Growing. Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it's cool stuff, man. Well, maybe we just spend a few minutes on what do you think? What's the future? Like, where are you guys headed, and what are churches? How are they using? Are they using it in different ways? And you're like, oh, that's I didn't realize they would do that. So now I think we should build this set of things. Or what's the future of Sermon Shots, and kind of how are you going to keep growing it beyond where you're at today?
Yeah. I think I've briefly mentioned that there's other things in Sermon Shots of, like, repurposing, right? I think that's really where Sermon Shots is going to be moving to, is how can we do, like, we just helped the church do this one thing really well from their sermon. A lot of the underlying code and technology that we built can actually be applied in lots of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So why not help them create images and recaps and things that churches are already doing with AI that we're like, we could turn this on for users, like
Right.
discussion guides and summaries that you can share on social media, all that. So that's really where we're going to be moving towards more in the next 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and actually,
Great.
I don't know when this is going to be posted, but today we actually released a big update related to that moving forward. So.
Nice. Today is, where are we at? We're February 29th. So it'll get released, and we'll leave it to the folks that, publish the podcast. But today's the 29th. So you released something big today that's kind of moving in that direction of just more repurposing of the sermon into various media types.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Well, it's so cool what you're up to, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast. This is awesome.
Thanks.
Where should, just give people a quick, how to go check out Sermon Shots? Where should they go?
Simple. SermonShots.com. It's where you can see everything that we're doing.
Easy.
You can also connect with me if you want on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to chat at any point with anybody that has questions.
Yeah, I love it. And you said, is there a free plan today? Can people check it out, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Every one of our plans has 14 days for free. You can try it out. Everything's unlimited use during that 14-day time period. So you can
there you go.
See it all in action.
Go get as many free clips as you can in 14 days, and hopefully you'll fall in love.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Corey, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. We'll do a follow-up, I'm sure, maybe in 12, 18 months, because AI will have gone crazy in that amount of time, and we'll see where you guys are at then.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, love it, man. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening today. We'll come back next week with another episode of Modern Church Leader. See you guys.